I read the last thing that we have?
हाँ, इसको एक बार फिर से yes.
The materialist has an easier field. It is possible for him, by denying spirit, arrive at the more readily convincing simplicity of statement, a real monism, the monism of matter, or else of force. But in this rigidity of statement, it is possible for him to persist permanently. He too ends by impossible for him to persist permanently. He too ends by positioning an unknowable as inert, as remote from the known universe as the passive Purusha or the silent Atma. It serves no purpose but to put off by a vague concession the inexorable demands of thought, or to stand as an excuse for refusing to extend the limits of inquiry.
करें आगे continue करें. So maybe you can start here and see wherever you want to stop. I don't know, on the way. Yeah.
Therefore, in these barren contradictions, the human mind cannot rest satisfied. It must seek always a complete affirmation. It can find it only by a luminous reconciliation. To reach that reconciliation, it must traverse the degrees which our inner consciousness imposes on us, and whether by objective method of analysis applied to life and mind as to matter, or by subjective synthesis and illumination, arrive at the repose of the ultimate unity without denying the energy of the expressive multiplicity.
So उसमें था ना सावित्री में where he shares that because the divine has involuted in matter, as if there is a pressure on man to grow in the image of divine. So as if कि मिट्टी के अंदर हीरा छुपा दिया. So अब मिट्टी के ऊपर pressure है कि to find out that hira within, just because the involution has happened. So here, ये वाला उससे मुझे याद दिलाया उसने, ये वाला जो when he says that to reach that reconciliation. अब उसके दो methods he's saying, to reach that reconciliation, it must traverse the degrees with which our inner consciousness imposes on us. So the inner being, the inner divine presence, is imposing, that, here I am, full of light, full of whatever your purity and love, and here, mired in filth and whatever, the outer surface personality. So one has to travel the degrees towards that inner divine presence, by objective method of पहला method उन्होंने बताया, whether by objective method of analysis applied to life mind. So life mind would be the outer instrumentation, है ना, emotions, thoughts, matter, or by subjective synthesis and illumination. So subjective synthesis and illumination would be, first you find out your true self, and by illumination of that true self, you radiate its energy and wisdom out on the surface personality. Or even if he says that even if you go by the objective method of analysis, in pure reason also, and you go there, even there one can go deeper, go higher, just like a scientist would go. A scientist would go like that, a true scientist. There also we can falter because we again become too rigid in our ideas. But if we really look, then we will see that there is no end to this. If we really look, yeah. So yeah, this was just coming to me, so I shared. You go.
Yeah, just to start with, this term of barren contradictions. That so many times when we are, say, talking to somebody, when I'm talking to somebody, how when they say something, it doesn't hold much beef, matlab, and yet they seem to be like myself, sticking to some point or some belief, and how it's a fact that it's a barren contradiction. And complete affirmation it can find only by luminous reconciliation. Luminous is full of light, na? Like that which illumines, na?
Yes, yeah.
And then, yeah, what you were saying that inner consciousness imposes on us. So, objective method of analysis applied to life and matter as to matter. This thing I didn't get, like among other things. Objective method of analysis applied to life and matter as to matter. What is as to matter?
Life and mind as to matter, just like we
लाइफ एंड माइंड अच्छा 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 ठीक है
मतलब
मैंने
जैसे
कहा कि
मैटर को
ठीक है
how we scrutinize the matter, go into it, just like that, scrutinizing thoughts and emotions and yeah, feelings. I think ये जो luminous reconciliation की बात कर रहे थे ना, in the context in which you shared, I think that's why it becomes so difficult to reach a harmony amongst individuals, because even if one party, for example, may, for example, let's say example of Dalai Lama and what's happening, Chinese invasion and all that. So he has made peace with himself, although there must be something that he still would like to happen, but he has made peace with himself. But the reconciliation cannot be luminous unless the other also, I would say, declings from his own rigid ideas and dogmas. So I think this is really a blessing, which mostly is not found, I would say, in relationships, where both the parties agree to decling from their whatever they are holding on to. I think there some luminous reconciliation can happen. But usually kya hota hai, either both are clinging to something, either one is clinging to something. So pura, it's like a true harmony can never be reached, usually in our situation, the where we are. But that is also our possibility. I think that true harmony, for example, there was a person who I was talking to, and she was sharing that one of the demands that I have from the universe is to have a family where I can openly share, and where I don't have to suppress myself, where each person can be himself, or something like that. And to me it also sounded like a beautiful aspiration for future, that this is also possible. So that's what I shared with her, that can we turn it into, instead of a demand or expectation, can we turn it into an aspiration, that true harmony living within a family where people are all different yet the same is also possible, where people can just allow themselves to express, and yet there is a basic oneness and acceptance of each other. It's hard. I think it's easier said than done in families usually, but yeah. क्योंकि सबसे पहले यही होता है कि I think the first thing that I'm afraid of if I express myself, whatever I am feeling right now, the first thing that makes me afraid is, will this make me non-accepted in the family? You know, that acceptance that everyone craves for. That अगर मैंने ये बता दिया what I'm feeling right now, which may not be, you know, whatever I'm feeling is surface. Feelings are all surface. It's not my true nature. But if I begin from there, that okay, this is what I'm feeling right now, then would the person still be okay with me? Would the person still accept me? Would I be loved? Would I be cared? So I think that is where our insecurity also comes. And then I don't express. No, that also doesn't leave me anywhere because that, yeah. So I think this is also very beautiful, the last sentence. That without denying the energy of expressive multiplicity, a unity has been found. I think this is where Sri Aurobindo talks of supermind, for example, supramental consciousness, where you are and you suit the place, you suit yourself, you are completely okay as you are, and yet there are others who are also completely okay as they are. No, but I think we have to travel a long distance to reach this, not denying the energy of expressive multiplicity, because the way I am right now, I am not totally an expression of the divine. You know, there is so many layers in between. So if this is allowed, if this is allowed to be, then and not allowed to change, then it cannot be called as expression of the multiplicity. वहां पे हम कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, मुझे लगता है काफी बार कि अरे मैं जैसा भी हूँ एक्सेप्ट करो, यू नो, दिस इज हु आई एम. But this is not what he means. He means that each person is a unique, that's what I'm sharing. It's not that he means that each person, you know, each unique has a uniqueness. And that uniqueness, when expressed truly, that when I am in touch with my innate divine presence, and when it radiates out, it has a proper place in this universe. So there, everything fits at the right place, you know, everything has a proper place. And nothing has to be denied. And no person can be said that, okay, you cannot exist. You cannot. America will also exist. China will also exist. India also has its proper place. But unless we find that inner divine, till that time, it's more struggle and turmoil. All okay? You want to?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Only in such a complete and Catholic affirmation can all the multiform and apparently contradictory data of existence be harmonized, and the manifold conflicting forces which govern our thought and life discover the central truth which they are here to symbolize and variously fulfill. आई थिंक ये आपने पहले ही जो एक्सप्लेन किया था उसमें कवर ही हो गया ना.
कैथोलिक एफर्मेशन का क्या मतलब होगा?
मेरे को कैथलिक से ये इम्प्रेशन आती है कि बहुत रिजिड, लाइक
हाँ.
इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग, लाइक देयर इज नो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी. बट लेट मी क्विकली चेक कैथलिक. नो, बिल्कुल नहीं. इंक्लूडिंग अ वाइड वेराइटी ऑफ थिंग्स, ऑल एम्ब्रेसिंग.
Oh, so वही again referring to that supramental synthesis, है ना,
या
in which everything is allowed.
ऑपोजिट इज नैरो.
Okay, very interesting. क्योंकि पढ़ने से सिर्फ वही आता है फीलिंग जो आप कह रहे थे ना, रिजिड. बताओ क्या सोचते हैं, क्या होता है? पढ़ने से तो यही आ रहा है, और यूजुअली अब आप कैथोलिसिज्म देखो तो उसमें भी ऐसा रिजिडिटी फील होता है ना. इंटरेस्टिंग.
मतलब when I hear the word Catholic Church, मतलब what comes to me is not this, है ना, मतलब yeah,
क्या था और क्या बना दिया हमने.
yeah.
Almost like that, yes. So beautiful. Have you read this part? ये then only can have a thought. ये कितना
नहीं.
सुंदर.
Then only can our thoughts have attained a true center, ceasing to wander in circles. Work like Brahman of the Upanishad, fixed and stable, even in its play and its worldwide coursing, and our life, knowing its aim, serve it with a serene and settled joy and light, as well as with a rhythmically discursive energy. Thoughts have attained a true center. Yeah, sorry, you were saying?
नहीं, मैं कह रही हूँ ऐसा लग रहा है इसको पढ़ने के बाद कि बस श्री अरविंदो आगे बढ़ो ही मत. इतना ही बहुत है हमारे लिए. मतलब just this aspiration, this that this also is a possibility. Where he says, then only can our thought. So when there is this supramental synthesis, that everything has its proper place, then only can our thought, having attained a true center, in that unity and oneness and harmony, having attained a true center, ceasing to wander in circles. This is what we do, even in relationships. This is what we do, going in circles and circles, one debate, again the debate, again the debate, and we don't reach anywhere. We don't reach anywhere. Maybe we reach, uh, uh, like maybe temporary, padhav we may reach, again that helps us, on the way. But it is actually, we don't realize that it's only circling around. Work like the Brahman of Upanishad, fixed and stable. So the thought has anchored itself as if in its true center, the center of unity, harmony, giving everything its proper place, fixed and stable, even in its play and its worldwide coursing, and our life, knowing its aim, serve it with a serene and settled joy. So life serves like a servant to thought, knowing its aim. So now at this place, I think, where thought is true center, established in the true center, which, in other words, we can also say when mind and heart have become one. This is what we face a challenge with, that mind is wanting its own thing and the heart wants something else. So when we say that the true heart opens and the mind becomes its servant, the thought has united with the inner heart, then the true service can happen. Knowing its aim, it can serve it with serene and settled joy, that this I know is my purpose of existence, and light, as well as with rhythmically discursive energy. Very interesting, whatever that is.
So this cursive means digressing from subject to subject
Okay,
or
okay.
relating to discourse or modes of discourse.
Interesting. मुझे लगता है वही बात होगी जो आप उस दिन we were sharing ना, you were showing me on your hand, like you go out, touch a topic, and then you come back. You hold the ground. You don't leave the ground. You remember that thing? So it's like the thought knows its center. And even if it goes out in subjects and objects, objects, goes out and stretches itself, it again holds the center. It's like a rhythm that is found. That also may be, but I don't know what is the true meaning here. मुझे लगा थोड़ा freeze हो गया, तो I stopped it. Yeah. Discover the central truth. And this is also. So all the forces of thought and life, which govern our life, usually we are puppeted around by them. All the feelings, sensations, ideas, beliefs, usually they govern us, thoughts. But now they discover the central truth, which they are here to symbolize. So this is my purpose, as if it has found its purpose. Earlier, it was just wandering around in different objects. So now, after discovering the central truth, I think this is what we can also, in one kind of way of saying, we can say what Mother Sri Aurobindo would say, the purpose of integral education, is to unite mind, life, and the physical around the psychic center. So now everything becomes an instrument of the divine, which earlier was just, you remember Dr. Reddy had shared this example of ministers, that every minister has its own department. Nobody is the ruler. So I think it was a very good example. So mind is its own master, life is its own master, physical wants to do whatever it wants to do. So there is no central king whose guidance everyone follows. And when we discover the psychic being, that's what Mother stresses upon: discover, go, find your hidden soul. Now where to go, that also she shares, but yeah, we wander around. So finding the center, inner center, finding the central truth, and then serving the central truth through mind, through life, and through. This is what one can also say, turning ill will to goodwill, turning unkindness to compassion, kindness, refining the impurities in our love to purities in love. So all these now they can happen in the way of perfection. Yeah. I think so much work, as if it feels, on one hand, of course, we are all that, but on the other hand, we also see that so much work is required, because in us, so much ill will is there. Even if I'm talking to somebody, उसका ऊपर से बेशक आप भला ही चाह रहे हो, अंदर से नहीं चाह रहे हो ना भला, ऐसा लगता है, मतलब है ना, मतलब there's so much darkness which one finds in here, which on the surface it shows that it's light. That's the facade, कि अरे तेरा हित ही तो चाहती हूँ, but अंदर क्या, it's the mixture that is there inside, if only one knows it.
I think uska, like you were saying, one would not want somebody ill will for other, like, but somehow we keep attaching ourselves, like where we are standing, because we don't want to move from there, or what we think that what I am thinking is so right, that even if I'm telling somebody something,
Exactly.
because I don't remove myself from the picture,
Exactly. Yeah.
it gets a bit heavy, I feel.
Yeah. 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 और वो उस समय दिखता नहीं है, जब हम डिस्कशन में होते हैं ना, तो लगता है अरे सही तो कह रही हूँ मैं, है ना, अरे बिल्कुल ठीक तो कह रही हूँ, तू गलत तू गलत। वो नहीं दिखता कि भाई हम भी पकड़ के बैठे, हम भी देखो मुझे लगता है बेसिकली इन दीज आर्ग्यूमेंट्स और डिस्कशंस, इफ वन कैन से, मतलब जो चिपकना वाली चीज है ना, मुझे लगता है वो दैट रियली गिव्स अस अ बिग क्लू, इफ वन कैन से, कि बस चिपकना नहीं है किसी भी चीज से, चाहे वो एक राइट ओपिनियन ही हो, कि मैं राइट ओपिनियन से चिपकी हूँ, अरे सही तो चिपकी हूँ, बट चिपके तो फिर भी हो ना। आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाई दिस द द थिंग अराउंड कल्टिज्म, बिकॉज उधर भी हम चिपक ही तो जाते हैं, उसमें भी हम कैटेगरीज बना दे, तू गलत मैं सही, है ना, जबकि द पर्पस ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी वाज टू यूनाइट। नाउ अगेन आई हैव क्रिएटेड सेपरेशन। तो वो दिखता ही नहीं है, दिखता ही नहीं, मतलब द ब्लाइंडनेस, वही जो कल की हम बात कर रहे थे, द अंधकार, द ब्लाइंडनेस इज सो इंटेंस, and it would be a lower level of blindness if I see that I am blind. But I don't see, I am right. When I can see, I can see. How can I be blind? But I am blinded by my own rigidity. This I don't see. And also this lack of love also I feel that so much of lack of love, even after so much of reading scriptures. Now Kabir's doha, that pothi pad jag moha, it appears more true somehow.
बिकॉज अभी जैसे लाइफ माइंड एंड मैटर की बात करिए, in these dealings also somehow everywhere, I feel that my mind is superior. What I am saying is, why can't you see this? Or for ourselves also, like I want to rule my mind, I have to sit and put it aside. Yeah, matlab, again and again, but somehow it feels that yeah, if I can think, there's no
Exactly.
logic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Why would you that said about that, reconciliation between those three also needs to happen. No?
Mm. And this also reminds me of that sharing now. The one lady had asked Tenzing Palmo about my father and parents,
Yeah.
and how do I tell them. And then what she shared, that you don't try to fix them. We are not here to fix people and change them, but to love them for who they are. Now this thing is our challenge, I think, for loving them for who they are, because हमारे हिसाब से ना, who they are is what my perception is about them, but that's not right. My perception is just a filter, and the most evil person would have something to offer, but what I see is just that filter of with which I see the evil, 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 evil. But I don't see the goodness. I don't see the goodness. तो टोटलिटी में बंदे को कभी हम देख ही नहीं पाते, बस एक वो फिल्टर से देखते हैं, हमको लगता है वही ठीक है क्योंकि मेरे साथ उसका ये रिश्ता है ना, बट ऐसा नहीं है। मतलब इवन इफ वी लॉजिकली चेक, we will see that it's not that the goodness has not been out many a times, but still I stick on to the filter, the filter, the filter. And as you were sharing that now, to know that these thoughts are there in my head and to put them aside and to not let them rule my interaction, that is actually a big courageous step.
But when the rhythm has once been disturbed, it is necessary and helpful that man should test separately in their extreme assertion each of the two great opposites. It is mind's natural way of returning more perfectly to the affirmation it has lost. On the road, it may attempt to rest in the intervening degrees, reducing all things into the terms of an original life energy or of sensation or of ideas, but these exclusive solutions have always an air of unreality.
Do you want to read one more line? Maybe it's in continuation.
They may satisfy for a time the logical reason which deals only with pure ideas, but they cannot satisfy the mind's sense of actuality.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mm. So I think these great opposites that he is saying would be each of two great opposites, जैसे ये कह रहे हैं ना. I think he's referring to this when he shares the objective method of analysis applied to life and mind as to matter, and then the subjective synthesis and illumination. So, but when that rhythm has once been disturbed, it is necessary. So, the rhythm was, again, starting from where I understood, rhythm was that I go out, interact with the subjects, and then I hold my ground back. But when the rhythm has been disturbed, so as if I'm not able to get anchored back again, for example, it is necessary and helpful that man should test separately in an extreme assertion each of the two great opposites. So wherever I am, from there I can start by going deeper into the wherever place I am. There, if I go deeper, look deeper, something I will find, which harmonizes and synthesizes. The thing is that we don't really care to look deeper because we are so busy in the outer that, and also the mind says that I understand, this is bulbul, this is babbler, how we get stuck in names, है ना? So we don't care. क्योंकि मेरे लिए अब क्या इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया, मेरे लिए ये इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया कि हाउ मेनी बर्ड्स नेम्स डू आई नो, rather than actually knowing the bird and having a really heart to heart, maybe oneness with it, going to the essence of the bird. Now I am more interested in knowing 100 different names. Why? Because they pay. Think again, it goes on and on how our education system then comes in, because that's what pays, 100 names. It is the mind's natural way of returning more perfectly to the affirmation it has lost. On the road, it may attempt to rest in the intervening degrees. Wow. Reducing all things into the terms of an original life energy or of sensation or of ideas. So, for example, it appears to me what he's saying is that wherever I am, I find a kind of a consolation there. And how do I know that it's the right place for me to be? I feel it's okay. So I am, reducing all things. So because I am feeling it's okay, I'm reducing it actually. Because I'm feeling it's okay, it gives me a feeling that it's okay. So I say, okay, this is a perfect place for me to be right now here. So on the road, as I'm turning back home, on the road, it may attempt to rest in the intervening degrees, reducing all things into the terms of an original life energy or of sensation or of ideas. कि अच्छा अभी के लिए we both feel settled. तो कैसे पता settled? कि हाँ ठीक ही तो लग रहा है. So वो जो लग रहा है पे मैं settle हो रही हूँ, intervening degree पे कहीं मैं settle हो रही हूँ. But these exclusive solutions have always an air of unreality. They may satisfy for a time the logical reason, reasonable लगेगा वो idea जो जहाँ पे भी we have settled. They may satisfy for, I think it's so amazing and brilliant, that what we go through in life, he has put into these words, which one could never say, how to put it in words, for example, we wonder. They may satisfy for a time the logical reason, which deals only, oh my God, my battery, just a second. हमारी भी बैटरी, आपको करना है कुछ अपनी बैटरी का या अभी चल रही है ठीक?
8% है तो मे बी 6 से बंद होती है. Yeah, I think maybe switch कर लेते हैं.
कर लो हाँ कर लो, पॉज. So they may satisfy for a time the logical reason which deals only with pure ideas. So ideally, when I reach a intervening kind of a reconciliation, it feels also it kind of submits to the reason, है ना, कि reasonably well ही तो लग रहा है, ठीक ही तो है, तेरा इतना शेयर मेरा इतना शेयर, for example, how we deal it in relationships, है ना, because this is what you deserve, this is what I deserve, okay, here we are. But they cannot satisfy the mind's sense of actuality. I think here he refers to the true nature of the mind. What in Buddhism, for example, comes again and again. The true nature of the mind is not limitation. And that's where the mind can never be satisfied truly with a limited reconciliation. Because just like, this example of a sponge ball, and a sponge ball is like compressed. Now, this compression is what our limited mind is. Now, I somehow have a memory of that relaxed state. I don't know, but the impression I carry is this. So the usual state of the mind is this contracted state, ego, compressed one. But I know that something more is possible. Why I know that, I don't know, but I know. So this, when it happens, then true reconciliation happens, but I don't know how to reach it. And this is why he says the Supreme has veiled himself through the groping mind. That I'm trying to make sense, but how to reach that total sense, I don't know. And why has it forgotten? Because that is the play, to now find it back, recover it. This is also, I think, truly very nice, this one. For the mind knows that there is something behind itself, which is not the idea. So there is something beyond the idea. You can call it love and divine and, whatever name we can give it. But there is something higher than reason. There is something higher than thought and idea. It knows, on the other hand, that there is something within itself which is more than the vital breath. Either spirit or matter can give it for a time some sense of ultimate reality, not so any of the principles that intervene. So when we, either spirit or matter can give it for a time some sense of ultimate reality. Okay. Okay, I think it also now feels like he's saying that what we were talking earlier, that monism of matter, that kabhi lagta hai bas yahi real hai, matter, or kabhi lagta hai spirit hi real hai, spirit hi real hai. So either spirit or matter can give it for a time some sense of ultimate reality, that okay, this is what it is, only matter, 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 this is how we end. After we die, we end, khatam, and end in the sense that I change form, since matter never, it just changes energy, it changes forms. Or we only talk of spirit, that it's only the spirit and rest everything is illusion. So ultimate reality is either spirit or matter, gives for some time a sense of ultimate reality. Not so any of the principles that intervene. This I could not really understand. Maybe he's talking of the senses, because intervening, any of the principles that intervene, maybe talking of the, for example, thought and senses, perceptions.
Yeah, nothing to say.
It must therefore go to the two extremes before it can return fruitfully upon the whole. So मतलब जाओ, matter में घुस जाओ, deeply. Two extremes, इसमें भी घुस जाओ और इसमें भी घुस जाओ, है ना? Because ultimately तो वही पता लगना है जो truth है ना? चाहे हम इसमें घुसें, matter में, चाहे spirit में घुसें. But the only thing is that we don't go really to the extreme. That's our, मतलब वही इस पे कबीर का एक याद आ रहा है मेरे को. He says, you remember this one? लकड़ी जल कोयला बनी, कोयला जल बनो भयो है राख, मैं अभागन यूं जली, ना कोयला बनी ना राख. So अध जले अथ पके, that is our life. लकड़ी जल कोयला बनी, कोयला जल भयो है राख, मैं अभागन यूं जली, ना कोयला बनी ना राख. तो ये हमारी कहानी है. मतलब ना हम स्पिरिट में टोटली भी जा पाते हैं, ना मैटर के अंदर डीपली जा पाते हैं. एंड एज वी वर डिस्कसिंग दैट डे सावित्री, एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन का जो एग्जांपल मैंने शेयर, मतलब इफ ही इवन गो इनटू द मैटर, वी रियलाइज दैट ऑल इज, there is an underlying truth and oneness behind all. Yeah.
I think कहीं पे ये जो एक we have been always told ना about finding a balance. I think that is a little bit advanced stage. और हमको जब ये बहुत छोटी स्टेजेस में ये जो हम लोअर वाइटल में और ये अपने माइंड में जो बैलेंस बनाना सीख लेते हैं, जो कि टेम्पररी होता है,
हाँ,
it does us more harm than good, है ना?
yeah.
जैसे I remember AP Acharya Prasad, once he had shared कि do things in extreme. I mean, one who can actually do it in extremes can reach one end.
Exactly.
जैसे ही जब रावण, when he was there, है ना, मतलब he was superly evil, और उसके लिए राम had to come, है ना, to stop him, and he got united with Ram. और जो हम बीच में अपना एक बैलेंसेस ढूंढते रहते हैं, that kind of really वही जो अभी आपने कबीर का शेयर करा, वही स्टेज रह जाती है ना. पीस नहीं है, बट फिर भी ये जो टेम्पररी आइलैंड्स ऑफ पीस हम लोग ढूंढ लेते हैं ना, कि चलो फॉर द टाइम बीइंग, बिकॉज द एक्सट्रीम्स feel like we don't have the strength for them, or the mind for them, or the ability to understand them, or the strength to reach them.
Also अब मुझे लगता है उसके बिना काम चल जाता है ना, काम ही तो चलाना है ना, काम चल जाता है उसके बिना.
हाँ, कोई बड़ा गोल है नहीं,
है ही नहीं. हाँ,
टाइम पास हो रहा है. और हाँ, मतलब there is a temporary peace that I am operating in, which is not restless most of the time.
तो फिर मैं बोलती हूँ ठीक ही तो है. और वो तो वन ऑफ था इंसिडेंट जो हुआ था, है ना. मतलब अगर मेरा पीस खो गई, रेस्टलेस हो गई, तो वो तो वन ऑफ इंसिडेंट था, तो वो तो सबके साथ होता है. otherwise तो मैं ठीक ही हूँ, on the whole तो मैं ठीक ही हूँ. This is, I think this is how the argument that one gives oneself.
Yeah.
और वही मतलब जब ट्रिविया में लाइफ इतनी खो जाती है, you know that बस ठीक ही तो चल रहा है, और दिन दिन कट रहा है, और डिप्रेसिव नहीं है, सब तो सब बढ़िया, तो ना कमा रहा है अच्छा खासा, खा पी रहा है, तो बढ़िया है, चलने दो. एंड दिस इज हाउ वी डू लिव मीडियोकर लाइफ थ्रू आउट अवर लाइफ, like a king living a life of a beggar. But I don't realize I am a beggar because the beggar is socially accepted. Okay, what we call middle class, upper middle class, ये मतलब एक तरह से just the social kind of conventions that we give around it. IIT, IIM, PhD, ये है तो सब beggars ही है ना, बट उनको आपने नाम दे दिया, एक रेस्पेक्टेबल नाम दे दिया कि अरे बहुत बढ़िया बेगर है. तो बेगर का नाम की जगह मतलब यू गेट अ टाइटल एंड वन फील्स सो happy about the title because the title is socially recognized. Yeah. And I think that's why the what Krishnamurti says now, that discontent, that to if you are discontent with the present situation, to preserve that discontent, because that will fuel your journey, that no, I am not okay, to I know that something, a higher life is possible for me, not to settle down with a mediocre life. यहाँ पे रिबेलियन चाहिए, यहाँ पे हमें मतलब हम पता नहीं कहाँ कहाँ अपने तंबू गाड़ते रहते हैं, मतलब यहाँ पे हम we don't rebel, that I cannot live a mediocre life. That day something really happened. It was very ordinary, but it struck me really hard. So I was compelling Chinmay to write a page of Hindi, because he kind of needs more practice with Hindi, which he doesn't practice often. तो मैं इसको 2-3 दिन से बोल रही थी, नहीं करी इसने, फिर मैं इसको बोल रही थी, चिन्मय अब तो तूने एक पेज लिखना ही है, and suddenly what he said, really it has not left me. I think it really left a deep impression on me. He said, Mummy, I don't want a life like this, where I have to do things where I don't find joy, for example. And the moment he said this, I could not say anything after that. But either the learning has to be joyful, or the learning doesn't happen at all, in that particular sense. And because kids know how to follow their joy, so if he learns Urdu, he knows that he's having joy, and that's why he does it. If he does drawing, he does it for the joy of drawing. And as adults, this is what we do. We suppress the joy and we say, अरे but ये काम आएगा आगे जाके, और उस आगे जाने के चक्कर में जो पता नहीं कब आएगा, उसके चक्कर में हम जो मारते हैं अपने आप को, I think that is really so sad. So that really stuck me, that little line. I don't even think he realized what he said, that I don't want to have a life like where I have to do things under pressure, even when I'm not wanting to do it. And then it's not that he did not do it. Not that day he did not do, because he wanted to do English. But then when I next sat with him and we did it together, then he was okay because he was enjoying it. So without the joy, if I do things, that becomes a habit. And that habit leads me to a mediocre kind of a life. And that mediocre life can be called a IIT life, IIM life, PhD life, doesn't matter, what name we give it. But it is a mediocre life because I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I have seen, personally in my life, in my relations, I've seen so many bright students, not students in that padne wali sense, in the sense they could have been a great cricketer. But because the father wanted him to be a businessman, poor guy now idhar ka raha, now udhar ka raha, and he's just really, very, very sad, very sad. चलो तो कोई एक थोड़ा हाई नोट बोलो, बहुत सैड सैड पे नहीं छोड़ते। कंप्लीट करना है इसको। एक हाँ, एक आध लाइन थोड़ी बची थी। So, yeah, it must therefore go to the two extremes before it can return fruitfully upon the whole. यहाँ पे छोड़ा था. So maybe you read the rest of it if possible. आपके दिख रहा है फोन पे? Okay.
For by its very nature, served by a sense that can perceive with distinctness only the parts of existence, and by a speech that also can achieve distinctness only when it carefully divides and limits, the intellect is driven, having before it this multiplicity of elemental principles, to seek unity by reducing all ruthlessly to the terms of one.
So it's like, when he says seeking unity by reducing all ruthlessly to the terms of one. This also gives me an image that how we, in education system, for example, we have this strict category, 95% matlab topper. So this is ruthlessly, I am just creating one category, a few principles I have made, और उसी के basis पे I am ruthlessly kind of, grading everyone according to that. So for by its very nature, served by a sense that can perceive with distinctness only the parts of existence, and by a speech that also can achieve distinctness only when it carefully divides and limits. So only if I put in categories can I make sense of you guys. Otherwise no chance. Okay, who are you? 95 and above. Okay, who are you? 50 and below. So only this I understand. Otherwise, I don't understand. No, so the intellect is driven, having before it this multiplicity of elemental principles, to seek unity by reducing all ruthlessly to the terms of one. So this is how I come to unity. That okay, toppers, non-toppers, bas ho gaya. This is how I understand. Yeah.
It attempts practically, in order to assert this one, to get rid of the other, to perceive the real source of their identity. Without this exclusive process, it must either have overleaped itself or must have completed the circuit, only to find that all equally reduce themselves to that which escapes definition or description, and is yet not only real but attainable. By whatever route we may travel, that is always the end at which we arrive, and we can only escape it by refusing to complete the journey.
So beautiful, so beautiful. I think it again, say for example, even if we go deep in the matter, complete the journey, and just like mother says, if the deeper you go into your suffering, you find this light. And if I have not found the light, it means the journey is yet not complete. So this, this going deep into, and this is how, that, for example, even when talks are there amongst nations where we are trying to achieve a reconciliation, but we always settle down for a very mediocre settlement. जिसमें थोड़ा सा तेरा स्वार्थ सर्व हो रहा है, थोड़ा सा मेरा स्वार्थ सर्व हो रहा है ना, एंड दैट इज इट. अभी का काम चल गया. बट इफ वी गो डीप एनफ, I think how beautiful this is, this one. So the starting from here maybe. So it attempts practically, the intellect attempts practically in order to assert this one to get rid of others. So the more I assert, for example, the example that we were taking, toppers, for example, I am okay, as if I am removing the dirt, non-toppers eliminated. To perceive the real source of their identity without this exclusive process, it must have either overleaped itself. Now, talking of intellect, that it would have either gone beyond itself or must have completed the circuit, only to find that all equally reduce themselves to that which escapes definition or description. I think again referring to Albert Einstein, that if I go deep into the matter, if my intellect has really overleaped itself, or even if I have completed the circuit in the sense going into the matter, I realize that there is something higher and greater which is beyond description. So here he says that to perceive the real source of their identity without this exclusive process of categorizing and limitation and getting rid of the wheat and the chaff, it must either have overleaped itself or must have completed the circuit, only to find that all that equally reduce themselves to that which escapes definition or description, and is yet not only the real but attainable. Now this also talks to me about when I am suffering. When I'm suffering and I go deep in my suffering and pain, it is impossible that I don't find light. And if I find light, I think that also makes me ready for the next challenges to come, because then I would not be running away from them. Because now, having once found the light within, in the deep darkness, why would I run from pain? Why would I run from suffering? Because I know that ultimately it's all light. Ultimately, it's all light. But we don't travel the complete journey. We settle down in the middle zones. Yeah, and this light is not only real but attainable. He says that this illumination, this reconciliation, not only real but also attainable. By whatever road we travel, that is always the end at which we arrive. I think this again talks to me about divine certitude. The victory of divine is certain, as Mother says, that there is no other thing that is going to happen, no matter how long it may take. So that is always the end at which we arrive. And we can only escape it by refusing to complete the journey. So settling down in mediocre decisions, settling down for places which not really are peaceful, but since the day is going by, okay, let me settle down for this. And this is how I think we, in our ordinary lives, we make them so ordinary, while they can be so extraordinary, each one of us. वही जो आप, I think that comes again and again, the lust for comfort. It kills the joy of being alive. थकेली सी जिंदगी होती है ना, जैसे we live that, ये बच्चे हो गए, काम छोड़ दिया, अब तो सारा ध्यान बच्चों पे है. I think this also gives me gives us an opportunity in the sense that just like relationships or challenges of life, if they have not made me a softened person, a gentle person, with more love, kindness, compassion, goodwill, more wisdom, because all of them travel together in a bouquet. I think then maybe I've not traveled the complete journey. If I'm not allowed them to mold me, shape me. It also shows us that the resistance within to mellow down or to awaken is so hard. This resistance is so hard कि इतने मिल गए अभी भी ऐसे ही हो, मतलब और कितने चाहिए. Anything you want to add?
नहीं.